Samsung just dropped their S26 lineup with some pretty wild changes. But here is the thing. They did not just upgrade the cameras or boost the battery life this time. They did something that might actually change how you use your phone in public forever. I am talking about a feature so clever that it makes those ugly privacy screen protectors look like ancient technology. But before we get to that mind-blowing feature, we need to talk about the elephant in the room. Samsung just raised their prices across the board, and I mean significantly. So the big question is, are these new Galaxy S26 phones actually worth the extra cash? Or is Samsung just testing how much we are willing to pay? Today we are breaking down everything new with the S26, S26 Plus, and S26 Ultra. We will cover the spec bumps, the design changes, the AI features that range from genuinely useful to completely ridiculous, and of course, that privacy screen technology that has me genuinely excited. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which S26 model makes the most sense for your wallet and your needs. Let me start with the prices because this is where things get interesting, and not necessarily in a good way. The Galaxy S26 now starts at $900, which is $100 more than last year's S25. The S26 Plus jumps to $1,100, again a $100 increase from the S25 Plus. And the S26 Ultra stays at $1,300, the same as the S25 Ultra. Now, Samsung is trying to justify these price increases by bumping up the base storage. The regular S26 now comes with 256 gigs instead of 128 gigs, so you're getting double the storage for that extra $100. The S26 Plus also starts at 256 gigs for that $1,100 price point. But here is what's really happening. Samsung is making room in their lineup for the Fan Edition models to fill that $800 price slot. It is classic price creep, and it is becoming a pattern across the entire smartphone industry. So with that context in mind, what are you actually getting for this extra money? Let's start with the processor because this is where all three phones get a meaningful upgrade. They are all running the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy, which is Samsung's custom version of Qualcomm's latest flagship chip. We have already seen the regular Snapdragon 8 Elite perform incredibly well in other phones, so this Galaxy-specific version should be excellent. Samsung is really pushing the AI optimization angle with this chip, especially with the neural processing unit improvements. More on the AI stuff in a minute, but from a pure performance standpoint, this should be a solid upgrade across the board. Now let's talk about design changes because this is where things get interesting, especially with the Ultra. The S26 and S26 Plus look pretty much identical to last year's models. You get some new color options and a slightly different camera ring design with this little plateau around the lenses. But the Ultra actually got some meaningful design changes that I think are improvements. First, it is thinner than the S25 Ultra, which addresses one of the main complaints people had about last year's phone. They also made it less boxy and squared off, so it should feel better in your hand. But here is something that might surprise you. They went back to aluminum sides instead of titanium. Now, this might sound like a downgrade, but aluminum actually has some advantages. It is lighter, it conducts heat better for thermal management, and honestly, it is more durable for everyday drops and dings. To accommodate the thinner design, Samsung completely redesigned the internal vapor chamber cooling system. This should help with sustained performance, especially during gaming or heavy AI processing tasks. Speaking of improvements across the lineup, charging speeds got a bump on all three phones. The regular S26 now charges at 25 watts instead of the previous 15 watts. The S26 Plus goes up to 45 watts, and the Ultra now supports 60 watts fast charging. These are not revolutionary changes, but faster charging is always welcome, especially as battery sizes continue to grow. Most of the other hardware changes are focused on the Ultra, particularly with the cameras. The primary camera and the 3x telephoto camera both got wider apertures to let in more light. The main camera goes from f/1.7 to f/1.4, and the 3x telephoto goes from f/3.4 to f/2.4. These changes should help with low light performance and background blur, but they are pretty modest upgrades overall. The camera hardware is otherwise unchanged, which means Samsung is relying on software improvements and AI processing to justify the new model. Now, there are still some features that Samsung did not include that some people have been asking for. There are still no magnets built into the phones for MagSafe style accessories. They are still using traditional lithium-ion batteries instead of the newer silicon-carbon batteries that offer better energy density. But here is where things get really interesting: the privacy screen feature on the Ultra. This is genuinely one of the coolest smartphone features I have seen in years. You know those privacy screen protectors that some people put on their phones to prevent shoulder surfing? They work by using micro-louvers that block the view from side angles, but they make your screen look terrible, and they are always on. Samsung's solution is so much better because it is built right into the display hardware. When you activate privacy mode, the screen looks completely normal when you are looking at it straight on. But as soon as someone tries to look at your screen from the side, top, or bottom, it fades to gray and eventually to black. The viewing angle restriction works both horizontally and vertically, so it is effective against pretty much any shoulder surfing attempt. But here is what makes it even better: you have complete control over when and how it works. You can turn it on and off whenever you want, obviously, but you can also set it to activate automatically in certain locations, like when you are at work or on public transportation. You can enable it for specific apps, so maybe it only turns on when you're using your banking app or looking at photos. It can even work on just parts of the screen, like only the top area where notifications appear or just password fields when you are typing in sensitive information. This level of customization makes it actually practical for everyday use, instead of just being a gimmick. I think this feature perfectly represents what Samsung does best. They are willing to try crazy display innovations that other companies won't touch. Think about their history. They were the first to do curved edge displays with the Galaxy Note Edge. They pioneered folding phones with the Galaxy Fold series, and now they even have a trifold phone. All of these innovations center around pushing display technology forward, and this privacy screen feels like the next logical step. I really hope this feature is successful on the Ultra and starts making its way to other phones, because it solves a real problem that a lot of people have. Now let's talk about the AI features, because Samsung is really pushing the AI phone angle with the S26 lineup. Some of these features are genuinely useful, while others feel like they are just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. On the useful side, they finally brought over call screening from Google's Pixel phones. This feature automatically answers spam calls and screens them for you, which is something that should have been everywhere years ago. They also added their version of Google's Magic Compose, which they're calling Now Nudge. This lives in your keyboard and gives you contextual suggestions for things to pull in from other apps. So if someone texts you asking about dinner plans, it might suggest your calendar events or nearby restaurant recommendations. Samsung also claims major improvements to Bixby, now powered by large language models with Google Gemini and Perplexity integration. I am cautiously optimistic about this because we have seen other companies struggle with AI-powered assistants lately. But if Samsung can pull this off, a truly smart Bixby could be a genuine selling point. On the photo side, they added something called Photo Assist, which brings Google Photo-style AI editing directly into the Samsung Gallery app. You can remove objects, change backgrounds, and do other AI-powered edits without leaving the gallery. The technology is impressive, but I'm not sure it's selling phones, especially since it will probably come to older Samsung phones as a software update. They also added Creative Studio, which is basically Samsung's version of Apple's image playground. You can generate AI images and stickers based on text prompts. Honestly, I find these AI image generation features pretty useless for most people, but Samsung seems committed to including them. Here's my concern with all this AI photo editing stuff. We are living in a time where authentic photos and videos from real people are more important than ever. The more we blur the lines between real and AI-generated content, the harder it becomes to trust what we are seeing. I am not saying these features are inherently bad, but the slope we're going down feels pretty slippery. Samsung is marketing these as AI phones in some of their press materials, which feels like overkill to me. These are still primarily communication and productivity devices that happen to have some AI features bolted on. So let's step back and look at the big picture here. These Galaxy S26 phones are very much evolutionary updates rather than revolutionary changes. Most of the improvements are subtle quality of life enhancements and gradual spec bumps. The privacy screen on the Ultra is genuinely innovative and exciting. The processor upgrade should deliver better performance and battery life across the board. The design refinements, especially on the Ultra, address some legitimate complaints from last year. But we are also looking at significant price increases that are hard to justify based purely on the new features. The regular S26 going from $800 to $900 is a substantial jump, even with the storage increase. The S26 Plus hitting $1,100 puts it in premium territory where the competition is fierce. At least the Ultra staying at $1,300 means it's not getting more expensive, and the privacy screen feature gives it a unique selling point. If you are coming from a phone that is 2 or 3 years old, any of these S26 models will feel like a major upgrade. The performance improvements alone will be noticeable in everyday use. But if you have an S25 or even an S24, the upgrade case is much harder to make. The privacy screen on the Ultra might be compelling enough if you frequently use your phone in public or handle sensitive information. But for most people, waiting another year or looking at the upcoming Fan Edition models might make more sense. Samsung is clearly positioning these as premium devices and pricing them accordingly. The question is whether the market will accept these higher prices, especially with strong competition from Google, Apple, and other Android manufacturers. What do you think about Samsung's direction with these phones? Are you excited about the privacy screen feature, or are you more concerned about the price increases? Let me know in the comments below which S26 model you are most interested in and why. If you are planning to pick up one of these phones, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss the full reviews when they drop. I will be testing everything from camera performance to battery life to how well that privacy screen actually works in real-world situations. And if this video helped you understand the new S26 lineup, give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone else who might be considering an upgrade. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Goodbye.